Hello folks, it's Monday. We've got a Kernow Beta 2100. This is a PR2794 approved set, so it's obviously post 1994. So it's the same specification as CB2781, but it's a higher specification, if you get what I mean. So it's UK FM, 40 channel, 4 watt, but it's got higher interference specification, and it actually has a receiver minimum specification, which 2781 didn't have, or we wouldn't have had things like the Fidelity 1000, which I love, but isn't a good set. Now, the customer, who is an end user and is a regular end user, has made the mistake of sending these thumb screws in with it, and his chances of getting those back aren't that great. These are actually from Altai, SW711 extension speakers. Anyway, they happen to fit. He's sent the mic, which is pretty useful because it's probably an electret on this. So I'm hoping that our little sheets here with the circuit specification and our tune-up chart are actually the same as this one, because it can vary. Now this one's crystal filtered, so you know it's going to be surely PR2794, but hey, we'll find out. So I think the best thing to do is to power it up. It hasn't got a fuse holder in it, and I'm required, whether he likes it or not, to fit a fuse holder in that. I don't have any notes with it, so we'll power it up. So it's off at the moment, and it's drawing 2 milliamps. So that must be some memory backup thing. It's one of these sets that powers up on channel 9. Oh, it is still one of these sets that powers up on channel 9. Oh, how bizarre is this? Mic gain high or low? It's a 5-pin socket, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's not an electric condenser. So we'll plug. We're doing that lovely realistic walkie-talkie yesterday. We've got another of them to do. So, but we'll do this today. I've still got the customer's D'Amico convoys, but they're so. I need to allocate 4 hours. It's like that. I've got. I said before, we do have one of those Danita Mark IIIs. I've never seen one before, which is a CPT FM set. So we may well do that next, and then we'll do the realistic handheld. I don't like to do consecutive sets. You know, it's like you get a box of 5 something or others, like we had the gentleman with the Orc 863s, but I need to do something in between, however wonderful the sets are. Tell you what, we won't take any more screws out, and then we'll see what it does with no intervention. So I'll put picture in picture on. It's working today. Well, it shows on my monitor for once, and we'll go into transmit. I'm on the 3 watt scale. And there's no transmit. Okay, we'll just see whether it's received. 2779125. I haven't got my walkie-talkie on my bench. I had to charge it, and I did that in the kitchen. I've no idea where the charger is, of course, so I borrowed the charger out of a brand new one in a box, like you'd expect me to do. Okay, We're on channel 20. It's not generating the channels, is it? I'm going to put it on channel 9 because sometimes that's a shortcut. No. I'll just go and fetch the walkie-talkie in case it is transmitting. So see if it's transmitting a few inches. No. Remembers to turn off walkie-talkie for once. Chances are it's going to be dry joint either the reference crystals up the spout. We're going to be taking all the cases off, whatever. I can see that. Start by unsoldering the speaker. At least it's a 3-inch one on this. You don't get that on new sets. So the reference crystal is there. Quick look. You can see it's being gone through once for dry joints. I can see a dry joint. It doesn't mean we're going to fix it with one wave of the soldering iron, but I can see one. This may be a candidate to get the vibrator out on. There's a potential one up there, but it's that's on the transmitter. I've not got as far as it transmitting as much as working as much as that yet. Let's get the extension speaker. I'll use the one on the wall. Actually, I wonder if PA works. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. And does mic gain affect that? Yes, it does. 1 2 1 2 1 2. It's interesting. The mic gain works the opposite way to what you think. I'm in high. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. It's the opposite way. How bonkers. Back to CB. Oh. It says it's transmitting, but it isn't coming out. Must be pre-programmed to do that. I didn't look at that first time. Anyway, I've got the signal generator on full pelt. Mind you, the VCO coil's got you know what, it's been fiddled with. I'm just going to go to the channel extremes. We've got no transmit on 1. We've got no transmit on 40. You can probably see where I'm thinking. See where that reference crystal is? It's just there. Just leave the walkie-talkie on in case it suddenly does start transmitting as I go through some of these joins. Let's see, we're going to end up with the microscope on this. Probably remove that piece of foam which has rotted. That could be harbouring damp, which could be causing the VCO to not work. It could be absolutely as simple as that. I'm going to pause the video and I'll scrape that away. Okay folks, well let that all be a lesson to everyone out there. I've removed the sticky pad and the radio now works. Yeah, I've just gone through for some dry joints. There's a sticky pad that's harbouring damp. It's right across all the terminals of the phase lock loop processor chip, and there you go. If I go into transmit, stick our walkie-talkie on. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. That's bizarre that. Okay, so that done, we'll go through it for service. Now the label remover, I'll bring it onto the camera. It's expensive. I think it's German. You know, like 17 quid a tin type of stuff. So I've used that. I've used the isopropyl alcohol. So that's probably cost a couple of quid in consumables to remove that label properly. Right, so we'll now it's working, we can get ourselves some figures. So we'll plug in the test instrument speaker instead. It's there. Has it got RF gain? It has, because I was going to say that's crummy otherwise. Right, put the cyanide meter on. So we'll start with transmit and let's see what it's doing. Now we're going to play that game, are we? Let's turn the mic gain down. Still going to do it. Put the mic on my knee. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. It's virtually spot on frequency. I'll still do it, but it doesn't need doing, if you get me. No PLL operation. Remove rotted sticky foam pad and dry joints. So it doesn't have, it's not going to have low pad because it's the next level up. It's not, as I say, it's PR2794. Just make a note of that. Don't confuse this with PR27GB, which should be CPT only. So cross that one out. So on transmit, let's go back to the main meter. It's just doing 3 watts. Is it one of these up-down mics? It is. Channel 40, 3 watts. I could say 2.95. And channel 1, 3 watts. Current consumption, let's go to channel 20. 830 milliamps. Deviation. Wow! It's showing us 2.2 on this test set, but we'll take that with a pinch of salt on this test set. Meter. It's got 4 stages. It says 4, and on putting S9 onto it, it says 4. It doesn't have one of those. That works. Those work. Those work. Those work. We're doing all right. Anyway, having got it going, which obviously is the idea from the customer, we're going to be doing a service, and it's going to be coming up considerably, hopefully, from 3 watts. Receive. That sounds quite decent. Very decent. Let's go over to the synod meter. So for 12 dB we've got 0.35. For 10 dB 0.3. I could say 0.299, but I'm not going to. For 20, they actually sell this, the specification is on 20, which is a bit bonkers. It's not the industry standard, but there you go. 0.84 microvolts, which is good. We'll see whether it's the same set in a moment. What do they say? They say 13.2 volts. We're running at 13.8, and they say 1 microvolt for 20 dB, which is already doing better than that. What do they say? You've got to look at the clue here. It says 4 watts max. It doesn't say every one of them will do 4 watts. So you've got to read into that. It says it's to plus or minus 0.2. So where's our tune-up sheet? There's a power preset there. Is it the same? No, it's not the same. It's similar. So when we look at the crystal filter, we've got a crystal filter there. We've got 2 here. So we've got a different phase lock loop on ours to this. This could be an 80 channel version. There's a little board here which we haven't got. So the 10.24 reference crystal here isn't there, so it probably derives it from the chip. But the layout is so similar. It's like they've just fitted in the alterations. I bet that's the next one up. I bet that's the 80 channel one if there was one. Anyway, it's enough for us to go by. So we'll start with turning the. I'll just turn the volume down. We don't need that at this stage. We'll go over to the main meter, and we'll put the power. Oops. Put that on my leg. I want power to full for now. Which is 4.8 watts. Now, the whole plan here is to. You notice I didn't bother. I thought that's been fiddled with, but I'm not going to fiddle with it, and I haven't fiddled with it. And you see, I was right not to. So it's the centre of the peak. That was not out. It's approaching 5 watts there. It's nice to see us set on top of the job. That's going to be the spectrum analyzer one. Right, so we'll now turn it down to 4 watts. Which is there. We're now at 986 milliamps. For an extra watt. And we want channel 1 and 40 to be within 0.1. Just over on 4, on channel 40, but it's like 4.02. I'll just put it 4 watts. And then on channel 1, spot on 4. So that's really well balanced. It was pretty well balanced before, but then when I tuned one of these early ones, it was way out. So that's good. We'll come back to the deviation with the test set. I'll do that later because I've got other things to do as usual. So let's move on to receive. Oh, is there going to be a power meter thing preset? Yeah. It's this one. There's one down here. Well, there is on the other. That's deviation on the one on our clipboard. I think that's squelch. That's S meter. Obviously that's frequency. You know what? We never did squelch performance, did we? So I think we better just do that. So we've got where it is at the moment. Right. Let's just do squelch. So put squelch to full. Then on the test set, I want it to open at 100 microvolts. In fact, it never opens. Then the threshold. It's 1.25 microvolts, which is a bit harsh. So hopefully we can adjust that out. I'm just going to fiddle with the squelch preset, having established that, just to make sure I'm on the right one. Because that isn't. I'm going to have to fiddle with these till I find the squelch preset. Is it that one? So is one of these the RF meters? See where I'm coming? Neither of those. So is one of these the S meter? That one's the S meter. So you'd think that is squelch. Right. Well, I think we've established actually that it doesn't have an RF meter, does it? Because when it wasn't transmitting, it was still showing that it was. So it's pre-programmed. Right. In that case, we'll go through the receiver. We'll start with the detector on the oscilloscope. A little tiny adjustment there. Right, let's go for the signer. Tell you what, that's really good. I've hardly touched that. See whether it's any worse or better. So the 12 dB. .39. For 10 dB, .32. For 20 dB, .86. So you see all those are very, very slightly worse now because I've touched up the detector, which might make the squelch work better. Tell you what, we'll do the meter next. So I'm going to have it so it just lights the fourth for S9. So if I go down, we can see it going down. I have no idea what they're supposed to read. So we've now got 4, having adjusted it. So we're just left with squelch. Squelch to full. Never opens. That's got to be the squelch preset. I'm going to turn down the squelch till it does open. That's interesting. We're not getting an S9 signal. The more signal I put on, it starts going down. How strange. So what I'm going to do is turn down the squelch till it starts receiving. So it is squelch. So that's minimum. But I can't open it with the signal generator. But I might have improved the minimum. So we'll set the threshold. Let's put the attenuator up on the inset picture. Signal generator back on. One. Right, we'll pause the video. All I've got to now do is do the deviation. So the deviation, I've got it on the test set behind me, is 2.1 maximum. Wow. So I just can bring that up a fraction. We'll probably end up getting feedback without having unplugged the extension speaker. See what that might get done. It seems to work the opposite way in PA to what it does on the set. Right, so we'll get that plugged into the other test set. We'll see what the Marconi test set has to say for itself. Let's put the camera on the main meter. There we go. So unplug the extension speaker. Well, it says 2.5 peak. Exactly. So it's working today. Anyway, there we go. Okay, so we can now put that down. It was 2.0, 2.2 to 2.5 peak, and frequency was a bit high. So as we finish this off a couple of hours later, let's put the inset picture on the frequency counter. Yeah. It's not stupidly too high. There we go, 27,79126. The mic works. Good. Now, where did I put the lids? So, supplied by GB Communications, Unit 1, Norland House, Hackworth Industrial Park, Shildon, County Durham. Well, there you go. Bit of a difference now. Having gone over that with the isopropyl alcohol and that other cleaner which I can't remember its name of. I bought a Mana Kestrel off eBay yesterday, which is one of the geysers of the Communicator NI 440DX. I do like them, even if everybody else hates them. I've got an unusual receiver which is difficult to set up, and I think that's why most of them don't perform very well. But those people have got them, and they do. I've never had the bleed over problem, but people go on about that as well. But there you go. When I was conducting tests at the time in 82, 83, I had a lot of difficulty getting. I used to have 4 people in Rotherham doing tests. They'd use them as their set for a week, all the different radios we were testing, and then we had 4 people in Nottingham doing the tests as well. And so they're both very, very busy radio traffic wise, and I had difficulty getting the Communicator NI 440DX back off the tester from one of the ones in Nottingham, and Glennis, whose handle was Apple Wine and has sadly passed away in the last couple of years, and she got married to Green Deltic, and I think it was Green Deltic's brother said to me, would I get him one of these Communicator NI 440DX sets for him to give them as a wedding gift, and I did that. So there were 170 sets on the market, and that's what they wanted. Right, let's see whether it still works this time on its own air. On its own, it does. We'll swap the aerial, take picture in picture off, and put the roof aerial on instead of the test equipment. Well done, Roger. Well, that wasn't going to happen, was it? Remember, this isn't a real rotary channel selector. It's just like an up-down. Tell you what, I'll just put it on channel 20. We'll just do a final little one on my walkie-talkie. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. There we go. Well, lovely set that's turned out to be. Thank you for watching Kernow Beta 2100 from 1994.